if you feel strongly enough about an idea, I think you owe it to yourself to see that idea through and keep it going and see what happens, regardless of the inevitable doubt that's going to creep in.
Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 465. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have back with us the internationally acclaimed and award-winning writer and comic creator, Matt Forsyth. Matt.
Hey, thanks
how's it
for having
going?
me.
You're welcome.
Good. How are you?
This is exciting because now this is your third time on, so this makes you officially friend of the show. And also, too, I'd like to point out too that Matt Forsyth is one of our long-term, long-time supporters of Storycomic too. You're right there near the beginning, Matt. Yeah, you and Therese. Yeah. So
yeah, we like to share the love. We like to support our fellow creators.
Right. And we're lucky because too is like I'm a huge fan and supporter of Hexapus Inc. as well, and your inaugural. You've been following along with Bound, been following along for like 5 years now. It's been like 5.
Yeah.
I've been following it for about 5 years, but you started it back in 2013.
Yeah, we really appreciate you sticking with us. There's been a few diehard, from beginning to now. We started the Patreon in, I want to say 2017.
Wow,
So
yeah.
it's been like 8 years. So I don't know if you were right there at the beginning, but you've been there for years, and yeah, we really appreciate the people that stuck around, because people have come and gone, as you'd expect.
Well, and it's interesting. So with Bound is that your artwork and your style, and it just pointing it out for our listeners and viewers to know is that I remember in the indie comic world when we're going to conventions and stuff, and then you're seeing a lot of people who putting it mildly are doing their best work. They're really giving it a go. But looking at the work that you do with Hexapus Inc., which is your company basically, and then your comic Bound, above and beyond, you're looking at this and this is something professional level that you would find in like Dark Horse Comics or something that you would find in like an Image comic title. And immediately I was drawn to it because you actually had a really significant meta plot. You can tell that this is a story that's going to be going someplace. And when I started reading it, you were already on like issue 3. So usually by issue 3, you're thinking, all right, they're in it. They're going to keep moving. They're going to go in a good direction. Always hesitant to pick up an issue 1 of something if there's no issue 2, because you're not sure if you want to be invested into a story that you're not getting the impression that the creator is going to have the ability or the longevity to keep it going.
Sure.
And you are now at volume 1 is basically, because you're talking about having issues 1 through 12, and you now have issues 1 through 12 done.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds impressive, but it took 15 years to get there. So,
but you did it though. You're pushing through. You had a goal in mind, and you were able to get it, and you were able to finish it, and make a testament to all the other indie comic creators out there is that if you have a 12-issue series and you're coming out with 1 issue basically every year, you had to step back a bit because you redid some of the issues, correct?
Yeah, I started off, some of the pages in the earlier versions of Bound were drawn like 2007. I started penciling them. I just had like I had like 6 pages at that point of like a short sequence. And then I just kept building on it. Teresa and I collaborated and came up with a story, and we had we had a basic story arc, and that changed a bit over the years, and we just kept going with it. But yeah, by the time I got to issue 3, my skills had improved so much. I felt like I had to go back and redo some of that issue 1.
Mm.
Some of it's still in there, but now that we're all the way through, issue 1 looks completely, almost disconnected, some of it from the rest of it. So now we have our remaster that's coming out, hopefully by February, and then yeah, that'll be like Bound's final form.
Mm.
Yeah, you can see the original. I think you probably have the one from 2013,
I think so, yeah.
which is pretty. It's pretty rough, it's pretty primitive.
Remind our listeners and our viewers, what is Bound?
Well, at the moment, the pitch is Bound is about a post-apocalyptic librarian who gets cursed with a demon. That's the really the hook. I feel like we've been struggling with that pitch for a long time, and we just gotta. We're trying to keep it simple. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than there if you've read the whole thing, but that's the gist of it.
Explain a bit the world that you've set up too, also in Bound. I love how it's you start off in a very central city,
Mm-hmm.
like cyberpunk feeling, like Blade Runner location, and then from there, unlike Blade Runner, you expand out into other parts of the outside the cities, which was really interesting.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so it takes place 140 years after the final war, like a final world war where, nuclear weapons or some kind of weapon of mass destruction has been used. And as far as Natalia Kane knows, the main character, as far as she knows, the city is it. There's nothing else beyond it. There's the wastelands, and she has her. She's grown up long after the war. The society's kind of humans have kind of come back. They've kind of gotten their act together, and yeah, she's just going through life with her assignment as a. She works at the archives, which you know she takes books, scans them in, and keeps them on record. All the works that they can collect that's left of humans. But she quickly finds out that her life is not as simple and as she believes it is.
Mm. This is science fiction, right? This isn't fantasy or superhero or anything.
No, yeah. I grew up reading superhero stuff, but I kind of, not too. I'm not trying to disparage it in any way, but I just kind of fell out of love with superhero stuff,
Mm.
and I gravitated more towards manga and things that had a very like beginning, middle, and end. Things that were more like what you would think of a graphic novel as just a novel, but it's also a comic book. I I've always been more affected by stories that stopped. So that was always like the main. That was like a rule that we had to have, that like Bound would be complete, and if we continued on, great. If not, it was also fine. So the world of Bound is influenced by things like the Outer Limits and the Twilight Zone. Some classic things, like things you wouldn't necessarily think of, like Dickens or 1984, Star Trek,
Mm.
the original series. There's some stuff in there. It's hard to like understate all of our influences, but it's also hard to like list them all because it just like it never ends. Um, but so the Athena Corporation stepped in to rebuild the city, to clean it up, to build a wall around it, to maintain order. Um, but there's also the kind of like the aspect of there's a lot of control over this. Athena has a lot of control over the city. There's a lot of like surveillance, and there's some subtle hints at what's going on there. But it's kind of our vision of what humans could possibly do if they survived and still organized. Where a lot of post-apocalyptic stuff is like Mad Max, it's just there's no law, there's no order. We thought it might be cool if or neat if there was something left, and how would humans survive in that? And then there's the other aspect of what Athena's doing with a device that is supposed to clean the air and make it more breathable because the effects of war are still there. And that I don't want to give too much away, but that and they end up opening up a different, like a rift in dimensions. Um, and that's a big part of it.
So, what would you say is some of your inspirations for Bound?
Like I said, like Twilight Zone, the Outer Limits were like as far as like the experiment of what Athena's doing. That was like a huge part. I love old, outdated future visions. Because you watch these old movies from the 50s and 60s, and they have their vision of what the future is going to be like, but it's so like not what actually happened. Most of them take place in like the late 90s or early 2000s, and you have this this kind of like, I guess it is almost like fantasy because like none of that stuff happened. So I like that. I like the look of all that stuff. I love black and white things. So it's hard to pinpoint all the little pieces. I'm influenced by Akira and Ghost in the Shell.
Mm,
Battle Angel was another one. Seth is very much looks like kind of my idea of what like a HR Giger anime character might
right.
look like. Therese has more literary influences. She was always into like hard sci-fi, like Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke, and also like Jane Austen and things like
Huh.
that. It's it's weird things that like make their way into our subconscious that when you look back on it, you're like, oh, okay, I see where that fit in. Sometimes it's more conscious. I love the X-Files, so there's parts where I like wanted to have Natalia doing a little bit of like investigating. Um, I'm a fan of some classic horror stuff, so I tried to put in little bits and pieces here and there, like The Exorcist or Halloween, stuff like that. Yeah, I
Huh.
mean, I could go on and on about my influences. It's just like
Right.
said, I've never made a real list, um, but it's way too many to count.
Right. And like what you said, Matt, too, it's like it even says right here, it says it's HP Lovecraft meets Ghost in the Shell. That's a
Yeah,
pretty good way
and saying all
coming
this
up.
stuff, I completely left out Lovecraft because From Beyond, the short story, the idea that there could be other dimensions and other creatures around us at all times, just like we're not aware of them. It's that idea of like different worlds existing simultaneously, I thought was a really um, it opened the door to possibilities for other stories that could take place, because that story is just about like a lot of Lovecraft stuff. It's like from the point of view of the person that is kind of the victim of it, and it's his very narrow view of what this his the scientist, his experiment like brought about, and how it ended up costing them their lives. And then they made it into a film in the 80s, which is that was my initial introduction to Lovecraft, was that kind of B movie from beyond.
Mm.
I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's very strange. It's a one of a kind film.
Yeah. Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. So we're talking also too as well. So as of this recording, you have Bound Volume 1 Remastered is on Kickstarter, and you've already reached your goal, and you're only been doing it for a few days, and you've already reached your goal.
Yeah. I was I was thinking that it was going to be a bit of a marathon, to try and get to that. I did not expect it to we got funded within like 48 hours. So I was not, I didn't advertise for it. I mean, I did social media posts, but I'm planning on doing some advertising for it. But
right.
Yeah, we're really, really happy and feel really grateful that people, right out of the gate showed up.
I mean, well, it's good. I mean, you're on Storycomic Presents. This is going to just skyrocket it right up. Right?
Oh, yeah. I appreciate you having us on.
And so as we were saying earlier, you've had out issues 1 through 12.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is this volume 1 issues 1 through 12, or are they issues?
This is issues 1 through 6.
Okay.
And so it's the first half.
Okay.
If we did, I mean, we just finished 12.
Right.
I think we just sent it out in like February, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully you got your copy.
I did.
And yeah, so I mean, I don't know what to I don't know how to even explain, like it's such a part of me for so long, and I put so much of myself into it, as far as the artwork goes, at least. It's hard to it's kind of surreal to be done with it, because it's been, besides moving and possible like illness, or days where I was just worn out from working a day job or something. I've been working on it almost every day for 15 years. So, I mean, there were times where I couldn't, but it's a daily task for me. So,
because you've done issue 12, the story's over. Is this giving you kind of a break to maybe expand on doing other IPs that you're working on, or other stories?
Well, Teresa's working on another story arc for Bound, and I've spent the last 3 months animating the trailer for our Kickstarter, because I got my for people that don't know, I got my BFA in 2D animation, but when I was in college, I didn't have any direction, and I never really applied myself. So it's been one of my goals over the last like decade or so to actually animate and do something I'm proud of. And so I've spent the last 3 months trying to achieve that. I don't know if I accomplished that goal or not, but I made the trailer and I I finished it, so it's out there. People can judge it for themselves, but um, I'm still very much I don't know it's kind of a double edged sword. I'm still very much in that world.
Mm,
I've got to go through chapters 1 through 6 now and shape them up for the Kickstarter, and it's not it's over, but it's not over, you know. Um,
right.
but I don't I've done some work for some people, but I don't give much thought to doing other things. I'm very much one track because I was telling someone recently like I meant to reach out to a bunch of people when the Kickstarter was happening to do podcasts and stuff, but I really couldn't even take it on until I finished what I was finished setting up the Kickstarter and doing the trailer. I'm so one track with stuff. Like, all right, I got to do this, and that's it. You know.
And you already have volume 2 basically done too.
Yeah.
How long are you going to take a pause before you do another Kickstarter?
Uh, it probably won't be until I want to say, you know, February, March, but it's probably going to end up being the summer again. Everything, every deadline, every estimate I have, I always it's always like way more for everything. I feel like everything in life works out that way for me, anyways. Where I'm like, okay, it's going to take this amount of time to do this, but then it ends up taking like 2 or 3 times as long. Um, I remember telling someone that we were going to be done with Bound by like 2020,
Mm.
you know, and that obviously didn't happen, but it didn't stop us. So.
What have you learned from doing this first Kickstarter that you're going to be able to utilize for your next Kickstarter?
I think I don't know. I'm really bad with social media and self promotion. I feel like I have everything I need visually, but I'm not timing and like knowing when to put things out and find that balance of reminding people, but also giving quality posts and making sure that people aren't sick of hearing about it, but also making sure people don't forget about it. So I feel like the next time I'll have to be a little bit more aggressive with that stuff because I usually don't. I'm lucky if I post once a week to Instagram or something. So um, that's always been, I feel like, one of my weaknesses. I feel like I could improve quite a bit on that. And now that we've done, like, I've made all those graphics and stuff, which is another thing that took way longer than I expected. Because I'm kind of cursed with having very specific visions of things, and I want to try to reach that. Like, never quite gets there, but I try.
With that said, what advice would you give other comic creators who might have started an issue 1 and maybe is working on an issue 2, but
Mhm.
they they're not sure how to get to that endpoint that you have succeeded at?
Um, I think if you believe in what you're doing, because you've written and illustrated quite a few things. So you know that if you if you feel strongly enough about an idea, I think you owe it to yourself to see that idea through and keep it going and see what happens, regardless of the inevitable doubt that's going to creep in. And if if I can do it, anyone can do it because I basically have an insane amount of self doubt and kind of imposter syndrome a little bit about things. So, but somehow I keep going with it. So if you can stick with it and see where it goes, things like Bound really took on a life of its own. I would say issue 4 on. There was no stopping it, you know. I think that was our first time that it felt like we had a formula down pat, where the look was close, the story was good, and it led in the ending of that issue led into the next one, and it just kept going, and it wasn't as much of a struggle to figure out where to go next. And not that we didn't have an idea of where we were going, but it really, like, it went in directions we didn't plan on. And I don't know if you can plan on that stuff. You can, I mean, you can try, but you got to allow for things to take on their own identity. It's weird.
Right.
It sounds very like metaphysical when I talk about it, but it's hard to articulate. But I think once you're in it, things happen.
Right. So Matt, if people want to learn more about you and your book, where's the best place they could go to?
For now, it's hexapus-inc.com. That's going to be changing soon, but we haven't switched over yet. And that take you to our Kickstarter. There's a link to our Patreon. But yeah, I mean, social media, Instagram, hexapus.inc. I try to stay a little bit current. I try to remind people
Right.
that I'm still there.
Yeah.
I'm working on the stuff every day, so it's not, if I'm not posting, it doesn't mean I'm not.
All right. Yeah, and also mention you were the most popular title in 2021 on Global Comics.
It was cool. It was cool at the time, but I try not to take that stuff too seriously.
Right.
We believe in what we're doing. We hope people like it, but
right.
Hope people will check it out. So it's there for free too. People can read it. Not the Kickstarter version, but it's the story's still there, so you can check it out.
Excellent. Well, great, Matt. I look forward to having you come back on and when your next project goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I look forward to seeing what you put out too, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
Excellent.